Hello, my name is Vice Mayor Kevin Hartke, and we're here with Chandler in Focus. And our topic of discussion today is the Desert Cancer Foundation. I'm excited for this particular show because I've also had the opportunity and privilege to share on the Desert Cancer Foundation of Arizona board for a while. My two guests today are Paula Wirth, who is a current and longstanding board member, as well as Ajay Bhatnagar, who serves on our medical advisory team. So welcome to Chandler in Focus. And why don't we start by, Paula, first tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, first of all, it's great to be here, and we really appreciate the city giving us this opportunity to talk about the Desert Cancer Foundation once again. I'm a local small business owner, and as you mentioned, I have been a longtime board member, starting out with the Seroptimists, which started the organization. And I've been president, chaired a lot of events, and been involved in all of our screenings. So you could say that this organization is in my heart.
And Dr. Bhatnagar, you've served on our medical board for a while, and you've also just been a great asset to the Desert Cancer Foundation, as well as a compassionate physician. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Well, I'm also a resident of Chandler, a radiation oncologist, and currently serve as a medical director for 21st Century Oncology of Arizona. We have practices across the valley, but I currently practice in the Casa Grande and Scottsdale offices. And I love what I do, taking care of patients.
Very good. Well, Paula, you mentioned the Seroptimist connection, and obviously there's a strong connection between the Seroptimists and the Desert Cancer Foundation of Arizona. Tell us about the history of the Desert Cancer Foundation.
Yes. In 1998, a group of Seroptimists, and I was a member of that group, became aware of a disparity in treatment available to the uninsured and underinsured in the area of cancer treatment. And so we had a series of public forums and set about to try to find a solution to that problem. As a result, we went through the process of becoming our own 501c3 organization at the advice of some attorneys in order to make the fundraising part run more smoothly. So while we'll always remember our Seroptimist roots and they continue to support us, we are our own entity. And the actual mission statement of the Desert Cancer Foundation is to provide cancer education, access to life-saving screenings, and to secure treatment resources for the uninsured and underinsured in the state of Arizona.
So tell us about some of the projects that we've done that have been highlights to you, current projects that we're engaging in, as well as with the number of patients that we have the opportunity to affect.
Well, the first and largest and continues to be the largest project is our mammogram screening program, again, for the uninsured and underinsured women in the entire state of Arizona. So most often we use the funds raised to contract with MOM, the Mobile On-Site Mammography Unit, to take their equipment to the different sites where we do the screenings. And our own board members and volunteers provide administrative support and assist people with translation and sometimes take care of their children while they're waiting to have their exam. And also our trained volunteers teach the women breast self-examination, which we stress as being very important. Last year, the Desert Cancer Foundation held 10 mammogram screenings, which I believe was a record for us, and we served over 400 women through those screenings. We also served about 25 additional women who either found us through our website or called us, heard about us through a friend or whatever, and we did mammograms and biopsies for those women and sometimes referred them on to physicians if they needed further treatment. We also have held with Dr. Bhatnagar in the past several prostate screenings serving many men, and I'll let him tell you more about that. And we've participated in a few health fairs where we have helped with skin cancer screenings. And skin cancer is an area that we'd like to do more exploration and hopefully expand our services in the future. Some of the places have been Chandler Christian Community Center, and we have been to different Indian reservations. We're pretty excited now about the Chiricahua Health Care Center that we have a new partnership with as well. So we'll continue on and serve several hundred people a year.
So in serving, whether it's women with mammograms, men with prostate screenings, our desire to both educate, inform, and assist those who have other cancers, skin cancers, et cetera, obviously part of our role in putting on these screenings has to do with money raising. Now, nobody draws a salary from the Desert Cancer Foundation, but we do raise money to help the and underinsured men and women. Tell us about how does the Desert Cancer Foundation do that?
Well, most of our funds are raised through our two main projects, which is Luncheon. Our most recent one was held on October 29th of this year, 2015. And we've had a wine and dine event in the spring for the last several years. In the past, we've also had art auctions, golf tournaments, jewelry raffles, and outside organizations also assist us by holding walks and runs. We've had a rodeo, all kinds of diverse efforts, a fitness center who help us by mobilizing their own constituents and then donating the money to our funds to help the uninsured constituents that we serve.
Oh, very good. Well, Dr. Bhatnagar, you have been involved, certainly as a radiologist and physician for many years in addressing and helping people walk through cancer. What do you see as some of the greatest challenges to treating cancer today?
I would have to say right now, the biggest challenge in cancer treatment are the costs involved with cancer treatment. First, the cost to develop cancer treatments. We are now developing targeted treatments that are specific to patients' tumors. Now, this is what we're calling personalized medicine. This will allow us to have better outcomes with better survival rates with minimal side effects. Obviously, that can't be cheap to develop these cancer treatments. Then, to afford to receive these treatments, is not, even with insurance, isn't easy. I mean, I have many patients that have significant financial burden, even with good insurance, and this is becoming an increasingly big problem. So right now in our current society, as we delve into this issue of healthcare, of dealing with these costs, I can tell you the costs involved with cancer treatments are becoming astronomical, where we will have difficulties unless we are able to come to some sort of compromise on how to be able to give cost-effective treatments.
It seems like there's a bit of a moving target in terms of prescribed treatment too, isn't there, with both prostate treatment and even the ACA's recent changes in terms of treatment or examination of breast cancer. So there's the cost aspect, and then there is the moving target of how do we treat, or what's the best practices of treating people? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, even screening has a cost, right?
Yes.
And so therefore, several years ago, the United States Preventive Task Force recommended not to screen for prostate cancer. Prior to that, it was only to screen men over 70, but now it's not to screen any men. Obviously, that has created a significant controversy among the prostate cancer world. While the majority of prostate cancer can be indolent, there are still a large proportion that are aggressive cancers that can be deadly. And until you screen for prostate cancer, we won't be able to identify those patients. So we currently are predicting to see many patients with prostate cancer with advanced disease, which is a shame because when prostate cancer is identified in the early stages, the outcomes are excellent.
My dad was a prostate cancer person that then spread as aggressive form into his bladder, and all sorts of surgeries ensued after that. So I appreciate your aspect and your perspective in wanting to help as many as possible. And it's probably no secret or part of the why that you've also received the Desert Cancer Foundation Spirit Award in 2009 and the Edgar J. Hernandez Humanitarian Award for your volunteer medical work in 2012. So tell us about your partnership with the DCFA.
Well, this partnership was excellent because DCFA has had an expertise in dealing with the process of how to screen patients and screen women. We now wanted to apply this sort of process and expertise for prostate cancer patients, or for men, to screen for prostate cancer. And it is a bit different to screen men versus women. Men tend to be a bit more resistant to go to healthcare compared to the women, but that was the process that we learned through our experience of doing it multiple years of how to adjust for that. But the expertise and the experience and the staff that DCFA was able to provide for us to implement to screen for prostate cancer in Casa Grande was monumental for us, and we really were appreciative of this. It was just that now with this screening recommendations of not to screen prostate cancer, it's been on hold for several years, but that's something that we would like to revisit, as now people are revisiting this concept of should patients now be screened for prostate cancer.
It's probably a bit of a moving target, isn't it, in terms of best practices. I know my favorite beverage, coffee, sometimes it is vilified and it'll do you in, and other times it's the panacea to cover all sorts of ills. So it's as medical knowledge increases, so does practices. I had a grandmother who lived to be 102 who was very adverse to seeing physicians because they only told her bad news, but I guess it worked for her, so why not? So talk to us, Dr. Bhatnagar, as well, as DCF works, the work that a lot that is done is breast cancer. And as a medical professional and member of our medical advisory board, how do recent breast cancer recommendations affect your practice and the work of the DCFA?
Well, just to give people background on the recent changes, currently this year, the American Cancer Society is now recommending for women between age 40 and 50 to have screening every other year rather than annually. This is creating huge controversy, but as you can compare it to prostate cancer, where they're recommending not to screen at all, it's, it will be interesting to see if this change from every other year to annually will lead to an increase in advanced breast cancer. I mean, we know that there are women that do get breast cancer at very early ages, which is why there is a strong belief that it should be done annually, especially starting at age 40 for average risk women. But at this point in time, it's difficult to see if there's an impact with this new rule. And I can see also there's already now regulations or movement from other societies to try to see if we can change this back to the annual movement. And again, there are many societies that have screening recommendations. That was just one society. So there's not necessarily one hard, fast rule. And I think this becomes an individual choice on the female, what they would like to do, in a discussion between them and their doctor on how they would like to do that. And so at this point in time, I don't know, it will be difficult to see any significant impact, but it is definitely creating controversy.
My wife is involved with the Relay for Life with the American Cancer Association, and I know within the organization this is quite controversial still, and certainly being discussed at all sorts of levels and circles. So I appreciate your perspective. Well, if you're watching us today, this is Chandler in Focus. I'm Vice Mayor Kevin Hartke, and we're discussing the role and scope of the Desert Cancer Foundation of Arizona. My guests today are Dr. Bhatnagar, who's a radiologist who practices in Scottsdale and in Casa Grande, although he's a great Chandler resident, and Paula Wirth, longtime volunteer and longtime board member for the Desert Cancer Foundation. Paula, tell us about screenings that we have got planned for the next 12 months.
Okay, sure. As I mentioned, we hold most of our screenings in neighborhood health clinics. Sometimes these are school-based because people are used to taking their children there, and so they're comfortable coming there. And we have been very effective in using those kinds of clinics for our screenings. So we'll be having screenings again this year at Chandler Christian Community Center, at Redbird Elementary School, which is in Mesa, and then we work a lot with Cathedral Health Services throughout the metro area. And all of these have been held in the past and will be held again in 2016. The new partnership with Chiricahua Community Health Center in Douglas, Arizona has given us another additional opportunity to serve an audience that we haven't been reaching. So that's kind of exciting. And also the Chandler VFW is going to be the site of another screening, a new place. Our next scheduled one right now is February 20th from 8 to 4, and it's going to be held at the Coliseum at the State Fairgrounds. So this is a very large partnership with the Junior League of Phoenix, and it's potentially able to serve many, many women, as it's open to any woman who wants to come who's uninsured or underinsured in the entire state. So if they want to get information about that, they can go to our website, which is desertcanceraz.org, or call our number at 480-763-6897. And I'd just like to point out that the Desert Cancer Foundation is a very small group of committed volunteers, and we do use virtually all of our funds to pay for these screenings, and sometimes we're able to pay for biopsies, but we really don't raise enough money, unfortunately, to pay for the extended treatment and the large medical bills that Dr. Bhatnagar was mentioning. So this is where we have to rely on our area physicians to take care of the patients beyond the scope of what the DCFA can do. So, for example, Dr. Edgar Hernandez, who's been with us since the beginning and remains our chief medical advisor, Dr. Bhatnagar, and the physician that is working with us from South Phoenix who treats those women that will be screened at the Coliseum, are the real heroes of this entire effort.
Well, speaking of real heroes, you were one of mine. You are a multiple cancer survivor. You are an ever-ready bunny in terms of energy. And so tell us a little bit about your story and why are you passionate and committed to the Desert Cancer Foundation of Arizona?
Well, ironically, when I started working with the foundation almost 19 years ago now, I was like everyone else. I had family members and friends, knew people who had had cancer, and it touched me very deeply. But I never really gave any thought to me being a cancer patient. And so when I was first diagnosed in 2008, I actually asked my doctor to repeat the tests because I was just sure that there must be a mistake, because I felt fine and I was doing everything, had energy, was doing what I wanted to. But she assured me that the results were accurate. So that kind of began my journey, and I had a surgery. A few years later, about a year and a half later, I had a recurrence, and my husband and I actually moved to Houston, Texas for the better part of a year, where I had experimental chemo, came back to Chandler and had 20 rounds of radiation, and I was cancer-free for a while. And then in 2013, I had another recurrence and had a small portion of my left lung removed in Phoenix at St. Joe's. But so I always thought I had a personal perspective on it because I did have, both my parents had cancer, and my best friend passed away from breast cancer. But a real personal experience is having it really happen to you. So I guess you could say that that did rekindle my passion for the cause, and actually felt like an uninsured patient at times, because the treatment I had in Houston was experimental because my cancer is very rare. And so many things were not paid for by my insurance, even though I did have insurance. So I really got the whole perspective of what it was like to be seriously ill with cancer and also have to face insurmountable medical costs.
Very good. So you had mentioned as part of your passion then is to express or to engage with the Desert Cancer Foundation. Tell us about our need for volunteers.
Thank you for asking, Vice Mayor. As with all wonderful organizations who have great causes, the Desert Cancer Foundation always needs additional volunteers. So whether someone has a few hours a month to give to do behind the scenes administrative things, make phone calls, or help perhaps at a screening, whether they could be a translator, which we desperately need bilingual volunteers, or if they really have the passion to become a working board member, we would love to talk to them.
Very good. I know it seems like our board is stretched and in a lot of different directions. And for those of you who have a passion to help people, and particularly in the arena of cancer, maybe you've been touched by it or a family member as Paula or myself, we would love for you to consider joining. And how would people find out about that?
Well, again, the easiest way would be to go to our website, which is www.desertcanceraz.org, or give us a call at our DCFA number, which is 480-763-6897.
Dr. Bhatnagar, why did you get involved with us on the Desert Cancer Foundation, and what are your thoughts about the services that it provides?
Well, it definitely fits an unmet need. You know, as we've talked about, the costs of cancer are insurmountable for even with insured patients. So imagine what it could be like for patients that are either underinsured or uninsured. So to provide this type of service, which no one else really does at this point, it's different. So they saw an unmet need, they went after it, and I was very impressed with their initiative and drive and wanted to expand it further, like we said, going into other realms such as prostate cancer screening. And so I'm thoroughly honored to be a part of the organization.
Now, you've also spoken at a couple of our luncheons, as certainly as you've been a reward recipient. So can you tell us something that is understandable by our viewers that you're excited about that is breakthroughs within the arena of cancer diagnosis or treatment that you're personally involved in or aware of?
Yes. One of my areas of expertise is skin cancer treatment. I use actually a different radiation source to actually apply directly to the skin cancer to eliminate it with, with excellent outcomes and minimal scarring. So it's called electronic brachytherapy. And this is a new treatment that allows us to treat skin cancers, especially in the cosmetically sensitive locations, to not have any scarring. While surgery is the mainstay of treatment for skin cancer, sometimes that's not the best option, especially for patients that are elderly or ill or have it in locations where they really don't want a scar, such as their face. So this becomes a nice alternative. And so that's one of the areas that I'm specifically involved in and one of my big passions. And I'm sorry, I don't want to correct you on the air here, but one of the common misconceptions of a radiologist versus a radiation oncologist. And so we always get this confusion, and that's why it's good for people here in the air to know that a radiologist is a doctor that views x-rays and diagnoses treatments by looking at images. A radiation oncologist, which I am, uses x-rays to treat cancers. And so I don't mean to put you on the spot, Vice Mayor, but I thought it'd be important for everyone to know that I'm a radiation oncologist that uses fancy radiation to treat cancers.
Yeah, that's a good correction. And yeah, I don't have any problem with being corrected, and I give myself opportunity all the time to do that. So Paula, why don't you tell us about a favorite story, someone that you've helped or that you've seen the Desert Cancer Foundation help in your long years of service? I'm sure you've got many stories and many people, but what stands out with you?
Well, there are several. One of my most poignant ones is a Hispanic woman who came to one of our screenings reluctantly. Her family encouraged her to come, and she came with her family surrounding her for support, and but she was scared. She'd never had a mammogram before, which many of our patients have not. So it's usually their first experience. We try to make it as comfortable as possible. But she came and she told us that she was reluctant, but she was going to do it because this is what her family wanted. We needed a translator for her, so that always makes it just a little bit more challenging too. We have some great volunteers who do translate, but so she had the mammogram. It came back, unfortunately, that positive, that she did have breast cancer, and she was very unhappy and told me personally that she wished she had not come at all because it would be better not to know, because she had no funds and no way to get further treatment. We did help her find resources and get treatment, and a few months later, we received a letter from her that still kind of makes me cry, that said, "Dear Mrs. Wirth," spelled wrong, and Desert Cancer Foundation, you know, I'm the lady who didn't want to have it and didn't like what I heard, but I want to thank you for saving my life, because I know now that if I had not had the mammogram and it had not been detected and I had not gotten treatment with your help, that I would probably not be here today.
Very good. Well, our show is coming to a conclusion. Dr. Bhatnagar, is there anything else that you'd like to say or share?
I'd just like to share that thank you for allowing me to come on air with you and express my gratitude for Desert Cancer Foundation of Arizona, as well as allowing me to talk about myself. And I look forward to continuing this relationship with you guys.
We certainly appreciate your selfless work and your dedication that brings a lot of alleviation to suffering of many. And Paula, any final thoughts?
Well, I too would just like to thank the city and thank you, Vice Mayor, for having us, giving us this opportunity to talk about the services and the opportunities for service that the Desert Cancer Foundation offers, and to thank Dr. Bhatnagar and our other medical advisory board members who help us do the work that we do. They help us deliver what we call education, awareness, and hope. Most importantly, hope, I think, for all cancer patients. Like me, when I was diagnosed, I had a motto, which was, "This cancer is in for the fight of its life." And little did I know I was going to use that motto 3 times. But I think I'm living proof that you can, and you can survive, and you can thrive. And so I'd just like to encourage anyone who's watching today to catch our fire and passion and join us if you can.
Well, I want to thank both of you for joining us today. And again, I'm Vice Mayor Kevin Hartke, and this is Chandler in Focus, and we'll see you at our next show.
Thank you so much.